Waiter, hallo und willkommen zum Auftakt des Charity-Events. Ich freue mich riesig, dass ihr alle dabei seid. Ich freue mich, dass wir ein paar Gäste mit dabei haben und ich denke, es ist für alle verständlich, wenn wir jetzt gleich auf die englische Sprache wechseln werden, damit der Madhu uns auch verstehen kann. Nichtsdestotrotz könnt ihr gerne im Chat auf Deutsch schreiben, Fragen stellen etc. Wir probieren uns heute durch Indri durch. Und der Madhu wird uns ein bisschen was zur Marke, zur Brennerei und zum Konzern erzählen. Und wir genießen einfach ein paar schöne Drams. Und ansonsten hoffe ich, dass vielleicht noch die ein oder andere Spende zusammenkommt. Dazu läuft hier unten der Spendenlink durchs Bild. Würde mich sehr freuen, wenn wir da schon ein bisschen näher an das Spendenziel ranrücken können. So, welcome everyone to this charity tasting, to the Indri tasting.
Good
Welcome,
evening.
Madhu.
Thank you so much, Manuel.
Can you please introduce yourself for everyone who not know who you are?
Hello, everyone. I'm sorry I'm not able to speak German, so you'll have to bear with me for the next 2 hours for me to speak it in English. So my name is Madhu, and I take care of the international business for this beautiful distillery in the northern part of India. The distillery is called as Piccadilly Distilleries, and we make some wonderful single malt whiskies. And I'm happy to be here. And thank you so much for being a part of this charity event.
Perfect. What time is it in India right now, in your place?
It's 12:30 in the morning, so it's Monday morning, 12:30 a.m. So my wife, who's sleeping on the other side, said, "You're going to drink up the first thing in the morning," and I said, "Yes, not just one, but 6 grams." Like, all the best.
I think we can do this together. Okay, so I would say we'll start with the first dram just to get started. And maybe you can talk about the dram itself and say something about the what it is, what we have here, what Indri is as well. But first, Eike and Basti, herzlich willkommen. Thanks for being here.
Hi. Guten Abend.
Yeah.
Vielleicht darf ich ganz kurz, bevor Madhu einsteigt, just a second before you start. Schön, dass ihr alle dabei seid. Wir freuen uns wahnsinnig. Ich vertrete heute Abend Prineus. Wir sind der Importeur von Indri seit gut einem Jahr und sind wahnsinnig stolz, diese tolle Marke bei uns im Portfolio zu haben. Und ja, auch wir freuen uns sehr, Manuel, dass wir dein Thema Kinderherzen heute auch mit unterstützen können durch dieses Event. Und ich wünsche uns allen einen schönen Abend.
Genau, an der Stelle ein riesiges Dankeschön natürlich an Prineus, an Basti und Thomas, die das Ganze möglich gemacht haben, beziehungsweise das ganze Prineus-Team. Eine Riesensache, vielleicht nochmal kurz für alle, die es nicht mitbekommen haben. Die Sets sind komplett gestellt von Prineus. Das heißt, bis auf den Versandkosten wird der komplette Betrag ist direkt an Kinderherzen gegangen und wir haben schon ich habe keinen genauen Spendenbetrag aktuell zusammen, aber wir werden die 2.000 € nur durch das Tasting schon geknackt haben. Und das ist mega und auch die ganze Arbeit, die dahinter steckt mit der Holzbox und den Abfüllungen, sieht super aus. Vielen Dank dafür.
Nichtsdestotrotz, lasst euch nicht aufhalten, da auch noch was nachzuschießen.
So, Madhu. Thank you.
So the first expression that we're going to taste today is the Trini, the 3 wood. So that's the packaging of Trini, the 3 wood. Now, for us, the name Indri is very special because Indri was a baby that was born in the year 2021 after the pandemic got over. So once the pandemic was over, we are a distillery which have been distilling and maturing spirits for almost 14 years now. 2010 was when the distillery's foundation was laid, And 2011-12 we started distilling and filling the liquid into the barrels. But what we were doing as a distillery is, uh, the distillery was set up because there was a huge demand for a malt whiskey, and a lot of distilleries in India who make blended whiskies used to add malt whiskey to their grain-based blended whiskies, so that they can make a decent blended whiskey. So the distillery was set up with the idea of distilling and maturing malt whiskies and selling them in bulk, in huge bulk quantities to other distilleries in India. Um, and we decided that there were a lot of barrels that were lying with us which had aged whiskies, and a lot of these distilleries who buy blended whiskies from us used to buy the 2 year, 3 year, 4 year old whiskies, and we had a huge inventory of the aged whiskies, which is like 5, 6, and 7 year old whiskies. And that's when the idea of launching the brand Indri came into being. So the name Indri, this is Indri written in Hindi, which is the language widely spoken in
Wait,
India.
wait a sec. I can enlarge you, and you can show the bottle.
Oh, perfect. Perfect. So, yeah. So Indri, this is Indri written in Hindi, which is the language which is widely spoken across the nation in India, and that's Indri written in English. And of course, if you see closer over here, that's Trini. Trini means the three wood, because we have used liquid from three different types of cask to make the single malt whiskey. So that's the first expression that you are tasting for the day. So Trini, why Trini and why not a bourbon cask or a wine cask or a sherry cask to start off with, was a very easy question for us. India has already had Amrut, Paul John, and other single malt whiskies that's coming from India. So we wanted to create a whiskey that was very unique than the rest of them. So we were sitting on an inventory of barrels of both the bourbon, of all the three casks, bourbon, French red wine, and PX sherry cask. So the master blender decided to put these three casks together to create this beautiful uh, expression called Trini, and this is our flagship expression. So when I say flagship expression, this is going to be there, for life. We want to create making this year after year, batches after batches, and we wanted to come out with the best, and that's how Trini came into being. So that's a small story about how Trini came into being and how Indri came into being. And as you're nosing, I'll of course run you through the nosing. But the name Indri is has got two meanings for us. The village in India where our distillery is located, the name of the village is called Indri. So it is like paying homage to the village in India, and saying that, hey, thank you for having a distillery in your village. We are naming this whiskey after the village. Indri also in Sanskrit, which is the founding language for a lot of Indian languages, means the five senses: the sense of smell, touch, taste, nose, and that's how we chose the name Indri for our single malt whiskies. So cheers to that, and let's just get into.
Yeah.
So do you say Prost, right? Prost. So
Cheers.
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 Madhu, do you have an expression like this in India?
No, unfortunately, I think people learned from the British after they left how to say cheers, and it's just staying with us. But it's still a lot of places of in India before they start drinking. If you go to the local bars, people, dip a drop and then throw it out. It's like you're making an offering to your ancestors before you're having a drink, and to the world. So that's a tradition that people follow, but everybody says cheers.
Okay, ich hake mal kurz ein. Alle Zuschauer dürfen natürlich wie immer gerne ihre Notes in den Chat schreiben und wie gesagt auch gerne auf Deutsch. Wir übersetzen es, wenn nötig und möglich. Basti wird dann auch gerne unterstützen und vielleicht kann Basti ein bisschen was zum Deutschland-Release und auch vor allem zum Preis dieses wundervollen
Ja,
Standards
klar.
sagen.
Ja, also wir sind seit einem Jahr, sagte ich ja eingangs schon, seit einem Jahr Partner von Indri in Deutschland. Und den Preis verrate ich euch gerne, weil ich ihn selber sagenhaft finde, muss ich gestehen. Wir sprechen hier von 38,90 € UVP. Und ich finde, ein Whisky in dieser Komplexität für unter 40 € ist wirklich ja, beachtenswert und etwas, was man wahrscheinlich nicht ganz so häufig am Markt mehr findet, besonders in der letzten Zeit, wo die Preise doch ordentlich angezogen sind.
Nicht 46%. Kühl gefiltert und Färbung habe ich jetzt nichts gesehen, ne?
Nein,
Non-chill
ist-
filter, not color added.
Absolutely.
Perfect.
So what we have decided to do with Indri is to keep it original, to keep it clean, and also make sure that we offer quality to the people who are buying our whiskies. So non-chill filtration was a conscious decision that we took, although we could have produced more bottles if we had lowered the ABV, but we decided to keep it non-chill filtered, so the flavors keep coming and it stays intact. And we don't add any colors or flavors. It's 100% natural, and we are proud to say that. Just not in any of our bottlings, any of our producers, it's 100% natural. So on the nose, those sweet caramel notes that you get is natural. For me now, I get nice fruits, fresh fruits, like a little bit of peaches, apricots, and there is a little bit of nice vanilla, the bourbon cask vanilla coming from the back of the thing, and then I think the wood, there's a little bit of the wood as well, and I think the oak is also coming on the nose for me. Now we need to understand the temperature at which we operate, right? The summers in the northern part of India, where our distillery is located, can go up to 50 degrees Celsius, and it's humid. So it's just not hot, but it is humid. So you're sweating and you're feeling hot. I keep saying that I sometimes feel that somebody's putting a straw on my head and sucking all the water out of my body. That's what I feel when I'm in the distillery during the summers at 50 degrees Celsius. And then we step into a monsoon period, which is again between, let's say, 35 to 40 degrees Celsius, and it's raining outside, but it's still warm and you're still sweating. And then the winters can go to being very dry, cold, and the temperature can drop down to 0 degrees Celsius. So from 50 to 0, there's a lot of fluctuation that's happening. So the wood really expands and contracts and takes maximum flavors from the wood in a shorter period of time. Now,
So
the
how much angel
average
share do you have?
for the first year, we lose somewhere between 12 and 14%, and then it goes down to 10%. On an average, we lose about 10% from our barrels every single year. And sometimes, depending upon the position of the cask, whether it's on the upper rack or on the lower rack, in the corner of the warehouse, there could be different evaporation loss or angel share. But on average, we lose about 10% every year. And for us, it's an advantage because we can make whiskeys quickly. But the disadvantage is that if you don't carefully manage your cask and use the cask wisely to create the blend, the wood can take over and can become very tannic. So that's a challenge that we continue to face because of the extreme heat. The second big challenge for us is that if we don't sell, we are losing all to the angels. So the angels are very happy, and we are not happy because we are not selling. So it's a big challenge for us, but I think it's natural, and we try to keep it 100% natural. So that's what we have to live with. So we're happy that we are having that angel share and getting some good whiskeys in a shorter period of time. So yeah.
So what's
Okay,
then the maximum of years you can age your whiskey? Is there a maximum when there is nothing left, or the oak takes so much over that it's...
So we do have a 10-year-old cask sitting at the distillery. We think we can pull up to 12 years. But what we have done with the older cask is that we have refilled the casks of the same age from the same batch together and filled it into the barrels so that we can get substantial quantities. Because the moment if you don't do the filling up of the same batch liquid into the cask, they can really absorb, and then whatever liquid is left over is going to become very woody and not even desirable to drink. So I think the maximum we can do is about 12 years. Maybe we will keep filling it and see if we can do a 14 years or a 15 years. But I think for 14, 15 years or even 12 years might be very, very, very woody and very sharp, you know. So that's why. So Trini's average age is about 6 years to 7 years. So when I say 6 to 7 years, it has been matured separately in ex-bourbon cask, separately in French red wine cask, and then bourbon cask liquid moved to sherry cask and finished over there for like 2 or 3 years. So each of them for an average age of 6 years, and then liquid drawn from each of these casks by the blender, and then we kind of put the liquid in a big stainless steel vat, and let them marry together for about 45 to 50 days before we actually bottle it. So there is a nice marriage of the liquid between these three casks before it's actually bottled across.
So Madhu, you said you use French wine casks. Is there a special type of wine cask you're looking for, or what are you expecting for a perfect wine cask?
So what has happened to us, right? And I need to tell the story. So there was a time when we had set the distillery, right? Today we are a distillery who are sitting on an inventory of about 50,000 barrels. So we are not a very small distillery. We are sitting on an inventory of 50,000 barrels because we have a huge production capacity. When I say a huge production capacity, we have 6 stills, 3 wash stills, and 3 spirit stills. So the wash stills are about 25,000 liters each, and the spirit stills are about 15,000 liters each. So on an average, every single day, if we run the distillery, we can distill about 12,000 liters. And
So
therefore, we needed barrels to. Sorry.
So you produce more than the other well-known distilleries from India, like Paul John and Amrut.
Absolutely, absolutely. We have the largest capacity today in comparison to the other distilleries in India, and because we were distilling and we needed barrels. I think about 7, 8 years ago, when we were not getting consistent supply of the bourbon cask, we had to look for sourcing other types of cask, and that's how the distillery started bringing in wine cask. And all the wine cask that has gone into making the Indri are from the Bordeaux region, from different wineries in France. But we are not supposed to reveal the name of the winery from which the barrels have come, but it's from the Bordeaux region in France. So all red wine casks from the Bordeaux regions, from different wineries, they've been maturing, and the master distiller blender decides to pull what kind of barrels would give you this kind of consistency in flavors. So that's the answer to that question.
Speaking of cask types, you said 50,000 casks in your warehouses. Wow, that's a lot. Here was a question in the comments. Someone asked if you are trying to do Indian oak.
Oh, yes. So what happens is then the Indian wood is not, so we wouldn't call that the oak in India is not very porous. For the wood to impart flavor to the spirit, it needs to interact with the wood. We have tried filling the spirit in some teak wood. Teak wood is a local wood that goes in India, and some sandalwood cask. But the liquid, I'm not saying many barrels is one barrel as an experiment, but the liquid is not good. It doesn't give any flavor or taste or
Okay.
anything like that
I,
because
I tried a teak oak whiskey, and it was, let's call it special. It was very, very special. And if it have to taste it blind, I've never guessed it as a whiskey. I would go with something else.
And second
um,
question here from the chat is: do you operate 24/7, or do you have shifts and operation times?
Okay, so the running of the distillery is primarily driven by a couple of factors. One is the availability of malted barley. Can we get consistent supplies of the malted barley? That's a question. Of course, the money to buy the malted barleys consistently. And then after you distill it, do we also have enough barrels to fill the liquid and keep? Although we can run our distillery 24 by 7, 365 days, we don't do it because sometimes we have to shut operations because either the barley is not there or the casks are not there. And we have only limited stainless steel tank capacity where we can distill and store the liquid, which is the new make spirit, for the barrels to arrive. So once we start running, we run all the batches. It runs 24 by 7. But then if you're stopping, then we stop and then wait for the right barrels and the barley to come in. So that's what the distillery is doing today. Because if we might need a lot more barrels to fill in if we are running every single day. So that's the answer to that.
You're working with Indian barley, right?
Yes, yes. So what we do is um, we work with a malting company who procures non-genetically modified Indian 6-row barley, and these Indian 6-row barley comes to our distillery after getting malted at the malting unit. So we don't have a malting floor, or none of the Indian distilleries so far have a malting floor by themselves. So we all buy from a malting. There are two big malting companies. From both of the companies, depending upon who's got the availability to supply us with the 6-row Indian barley. Now, the 6-row barley is very different from the 2-row barley, which is used widely in Europe, because the 6-row barley, the husk is bigger and the grain is smaller. It's got more proteins than starch. So we get see the butteriness and a little bit of oiliness on the palate is coming from the 6-row barley. Also, a lot of the fruity notes that you get in the Indian the new make spirit is very fruity. So that comes from the Indian barley that we use. So for me, Trini on the palate is a lot more, uh, let's say, sweet. There is a little bit of red berries, a little bit of peppery note towards the finish, soft spice. Even now after I finished, I can get a little bit of chocolate, woody chocolate kind of thing coming from the back of my throat. So that's and every single sip that you keep taking, the whiskey evolves, and that's the beauty of Trini.
Too late, it's empty. But
If you can come
I
down to
think,
India, I can share a bottle.
well, it's good for the whiskey that it is empty because it's very good to drink. It's easy to drink. I
Really
think we
like
should
it.
we should go to the next one slowly because of the time. But maybe Holly and Eike can tell what's their opinion about the first whiskey.
I find the
And we
I
can start. We
Holly,
can start
Holly, go
nosing the second one.
Ike, you first or I?
first. Ladies first. Your turn.
Yeah, as you all know, I never tried Indri before, and I'm really surprised. I didn't expect those taste like iced tea and peaches and the fruitiness, and at the same time the spiciness as well. And yeah, as I said, it's a really nice sipper for the entry, and I'm really excited what will come next.
I have similar feelings on the whiskey because I've never tried Indri before as well. Even though Manuel has waved the bottle of Trini multiple times before my head, you have to try this, you have to try this, and there was never the occasion to do that. And I think now I've missed something, and I'm really glad that we tried it today because I grabbed the sample from my stash, and it was some other Indian brand and in the same price region as the Trini, and it's very thin. It's nothing in it, and I really like the Trini on that multiple times better. And I have the peaches, the iced tea, little freshness, spice, little bit of herbs. Not so much the oak, but that's totally fine for me. And I think it's a great starter and a great all-rounder.
Yeah, but
Great.
you do recognize the wine finish, I think. So it's good that it's not too much oak.
Yeah,
For me.
it's the subtle fruits, some hints of darker fruits combined with
Yeah.
peach. And
Ja.
Okay,
It's really nice.
wenn euch der gefallen hat, Entschuldigung, ich muss kurz auf Deutsch wechseln. Sorry, Muddy, I have to change to German for a sec. Wenn euch der gefallen hat, dann wollen wir das Ganze jetzt mal steigern. Wir machen nämlich als nächstes den Dru, also das Ganze in Fassstärke. Und wir haben hier eine Deutschland-Premiere. Dazu kann sicherlich der Basti noch was sagen, was für eine Aktion das war, den euch noch in die Holzbox zu kriegen.
Ja, das war wahnsinnig spannend. Ich habe zwischendurch mal in unsere Prineus-Gruppe geschrieben, es ist spannender als jeder Tatort. Also wir haben wirklich bis zur letzten Sekunde gezittert und haben auch schon am Plan B gearbeitet, in der Hoffnung, dass die Flaschen noch rechtzeitig fürs Tasting ankommen. Wir haben das große Glück gehabt, dass Manuel schon vorher gesagt hat, ich habe einen sehr, sehr guten Draht zum Versand oder zum Versand. In der Regel kann ich es schaffen, über Nacht zu versenden, selbst wenn ich abends erst die Pakete um 8 in die Post gebe. Das hat uns ein bisschen den Druck rausgenommen, glücklicherweise. Aber wir hatten wirklich Probleme mit dem Zoll und dem Versand, und dann hatten wir auch noch einen Expressversand gebucht, um die Sachen zu Manuel zu bekommen. Auch das hat nicht wie gewünscht funktioniert, also hat deutlich länger gedauert, als wir es gewohnt sind. Und umso glücklicher
Der Overnight-Versand hat eine Woche gebraucht zu mir.
Genau, richtig. Und umso
Und
glücklicher
das,
sind
und
wir, dass
das
wir
2 Wochen vorm Tasting.
Ach du Scheiße.
Also wir haben dann immer aus unserem Lagerhaus hin und her geschrieben, als die Ware dann endlich ankam, und es war wirklich so, alle haben mit angefasst. Also sobald die Ware ankam, ging es an die Arbeit zum Versamplen. Den Rest hatten wir schon vorbereitet, was schon vorzubereiten war, so dass da wirklich mit Hochdruck dran gearbeitet wurde. Und ja, Deutschland-Premiere, genau. Die eigentliche Ware befindet sich noch auf dem Schiff, ist noch im Container. Wir hoffen, dass sie sehr, sehr bald ankommt. Wir hatten noch zusätzlich zu der Ware für das Tasting was für Messen dabei und haben ein sehr, sehr gutes Feedback bis jetzt bekommen. Deswegen bin ich umso gespannter, was ihr jetzt dazu sagt. Zum Preis ganz kurz. Auch da wieder sagenhafte 64,90 und wir reden hier von Fassstärke. So, Madhu, it's your turn.
Oh,
Seht euch mal
absolutely.
bitte an, wie geil das Ding aussieht. Entschuldigung, ich musste noch mal kurz. Also, das ist optisch allein schon ein Highlight. Sorry, Madhu, I had to interrupt about the amazing design of this bottle.
Yeah, so the only thing I wanted to show is, although you had a half empty bottle, I have almost a full bottle over here, and that's how it looks across. So for me, Drew, now let me talk about the name Drew before anything across. So we launched Trini, the Indri Trini, our flagship expression, and we had intentionally kept the pricing of Trini as very approachable. So people can buy it and drink it more often, and it's not sitting behind the bar, and it's not pulled up and offered us like, oh, I have a special one, and then it goes back to the bar. So while keeping Trini there with the pricing, we want to make it very affordable. Uh, at the same time, we also said, what do we do next? We've launched a triple cask expression as the beginning, so it becomes a challenge for us to come up with something different and unique, and that's how Dhruv was born. So Dhruv was going back to the roots, which is the character of the distillery. So Dhruv is in its entirety matured in ex-bourbon cask for a period of 7 long years. Now, 7 long years in a tropical, subtropical, hot, humid climate of northern India, I must say, this is the that's the color that we get. The
Wait a second.
color is the color is deep dark red. You need to at least wait for 25 more years in a cooler climate to get this natural color for a single malt whiskey. And it's just not about the color. uh, for us, Dhruv was also to bring a bouquet of bourbon cask character to the fore. Um, the name Dhruv means a wooden vessel in Sanskrit. Wooden vessel, um, as per the ancient mythology, it is a wooden vessel in which an intoxicating drink was offered to the gods when there was prayers done to the god. And for us, the name struck a bell in our head, saying that, hey, this is a wooden vessel that's been holding a liquid for 7 long years. And of course, it is intoxicating and delicious. And we are offering it to our consumers who are like gods to us. And that's how the name Dhruv came into being. Now, Dhruv is very different in the nose when you compare it with the Trini. So I don't know if you still have got some Trini in your glasses, or even if you can go back to your Trini. So you can see that although Dhruv has a character, Trini has a character of Dhruv, a part of this is actually gone into making the Trini. So Dhruv, for me, on the nose is lots of typical bourbon cask characters, which is vanilla, caramel. There is a little bit of pineapple, bananas,
Totally banana.
a banana.
Yeah.
A nice soft banana, and I'm also getting a little bit of those like ripened fruits, like really ripe fruits. When 3 or 4 fruits are kept together and you want to open the box to take and eat one, the aroma that hits you, that's the aroma that I get on this when I taste it, when I nose it at this moment.
I find it in the first place a bit more complex to get to the whiskey, because maybe on the cask strength, the in Trini was much easier to get to, but if I dig deeper into the aromas, they're more intense, and I have some milk chocolate and some
Oh,
wood here. And the combination, it's lacking the red fruits from the Trini. Yeah, there's no wine cask here, but there are other fruits, and yeah, interesting.
and Dhruv is bottled at 57.2%. So there is a little bit of warmthness to it on the palate. But I think after the first sip and the second sip, the palate really opens up to a lot of flavors. Um,
But 57.2 was it? You will never get that on the nose. It is
oh,
totally
yes.
smooth on the nose.
Yeah, you get
There's
that
no
it's cask
alcohol hitting
strength,
it.
but not 57. I would guess 51 to 50.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers, cheers. on the palate, you're just immediately greeted by honey. It's like honeysuckle, nice honeysuckle giving way for like a milk chocolate kind of a thing, with soft spices coating on the side of your tongue, but still the honey is lingering on the palate. There's a little bit of like caramelized pineapple, um, um, again bananas. The finish has got nice wood, uh, uh, nice soft wood spice coming through from the back of it. I would say this is a very multi-layered kind of a whiskey. It doesn't feel cast strength on the palate as well. Yes, there is a bit of heat, but I think it just nicely adds to the warmness of the whole palate across.
I wouldn't say that it's 57% because yeah, you have the little bit of white pepper that's from the strength, but it's really great balanced in the alcohol. And the banana, we in Germany we have the Haribo, the sweets, and there if you go to the banana ones, Tropifrutti, and they're the bananas. It's pointed on that, and I really like that.
So, and the very positive thing to say is it will be a core range whiskey, so it will be available every time.
Great.
Because while we are creating something different and new, this was something that we said we could have done a 46% cast strength, 46% brew, but we said, hey, how are we going to really show the character of a bourbon cask at the distillery? And that's why we decided to keep it at 57.2%. Now, I must tell you a secret. Actually, the cask strength, original cask strength in our distillery is above 60% most of the times. Sometimes it is 59.5, 59, 62, 63, 64 and a half, 65. Because of the, we fill the casks at 62.5%, but because of the temperature, we lose more water, and the liquid goes higher in ABV. Now, we do have a state excise regulation which does not allow us to bottle it at the cask strength, because um, they say that anything above 60 we can't sell. So we had to lower the strength a little bit to create consistency in batch after batch. So the disclaimer is, although we say it's cask strength, it's not entirely the strength of the cask. It is just watered down a little bit to round it off and also to pass the excise regulations that we have at the distillery across. But this one, for me, is a well-rounded whiskey with nice, I don't know how many of you, as a child, when I was eating bananas, the peel of the banana, if you just probably bite the peel of the banana, the small layers that comes from the peel of the bananas, it's like raw banana just getting to become a fruit. I think that's the flavor that's staying in my mouth after I finish this.
And I watered it down a little bit in my mouth, maybe 2-3%, and then I got the pineapple more strong on the palate, and the banana came back in the aftertaste.
Oh, interesting.
So interesting malt, and I cannot say kudos for the price. In that times, as whiskey is skyrocketing in prices, that's very healthy and welcome to have those prices here for such quality.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Ike. Because again, whenever we discuss with Prineus, our partners in Germany, we always discuss about price. And one thing that we are very conscious, both the companies, our company and Prineus, is you can make a fantastic whiskey and price it so much, and people are not able to drink it. Or people are not able to enjoy it because every time they see the bottle, oh, that's a 200 euro bottle. I'm not going to open it now. I'll keep it for later. But when you keep it at 65, 70 euros, it becomes, hey, That's not expensive, and I have to drink a good whiskey. I have a bottle that I can go and drink, even if you have to sit down every single day. So even for the single casks that we have bottled, you will notice that our prices that we have kept are much reasonable and approachable, just for the reason that we want people to try. We want people to know that how a whiskey from a different part of the world tastes like. So yeah, that's Dhruv, and that makes it very interesting for us to launch it as one of the core expressions.
So I will answer in German, Madhu, if it's fine. Wir haben das auf den Messen jetzt auch schon festgestellt. Wir hatten ja schon 2 Probierfläschchen mit auf Messen dabei. Und die Leute hätten uns am liebsten die Flaschen so aus den Händen gerissen. Denn was Madhu gerade schon sagte, der Preistrend, oder auch Eike, du schon sagtest, der Preis geht nach oben, nach oben, nach oben. Und mit Indri haben wir hier wirklich einen spitzen Whisky in einer Preisliga, wo die Leute wirklich sofort sagen, alles klar, den nehme ich mit, den will ich haben. Wir sprechen ja wirklich von Fassstärke 65 €. Das findest du im Prinzip in dieser Komplexität, also Whisky in dieser Komplexität zu diesem Preis ist momentan ganz, ganz schwierig, und wir freuen uns sehr darauf, dass das Schiff bald einläuft. Und auch bei den Single Casts, die wir gleich noch probieren werden, wir sind hier komplett bei allen Fässern unter 90 €. Auch das ist was wirklich im Moment sehr, sehr selten da ist. Umso glücklicher sind wir, dass wir mit Madhu auch so gut verhandeln konnten, dass wir auch in Zukunft keine krassen Preissprünge zu erwarten haben bei Indri. So, sorry, Madhu. I was just talking about your really fair prices you give the German audience.
Ich hoffe, Basti, ihr habt direkt das nächste Boot bestellt. Also wenn der erste Container einläuft, macht der zweite sich auf den Weg. Weil ich glaube, mit dem Preis, wenn sich das rumspricht, wie gut die sind, also auch wenn wir jetzt gleich die Single Cask probieren, werden wir sehen, also ein Single Cask dieser Qualität in Deutschland für unter 100 € auf den Markt zu bringen, ist eine Kampfansage.
Genau, richtig. Und ja, wir haben noch einiges in der Pipeline. Also wir sind in sehr, sehr guten Gesprächen. So Mario, we are in really good talks about the next releases we will have in Germany, especially for the single cask. So one thing you talked with Thomas before was a very nice sherry butt. We will maybe see in the future in Germany, and then there is some peated whiskey maybe for the future, and and also another great wine casks in the pipeline. So we're looking at a very, very bright future with Indri in Germany.
Thanks.
And another thing we are really proud of. So we are the first market, including India, that have single casks.
Oh, wow.
And also the first market to get the official consignment of Dhruv, because Dhruv is shipped to the US, shipped to about 15 countries, but you are having the first consignment of Dhruv that's being bottled across. Germany was the first market to get the single cask range. We bottled for both the US and for Germany at the same time, but Germany got the single cask before. And so there's a lot of first to Germany for us, and it's a very very close market for my heart, because I think I like Germany. So yeah, that's a bias as well over there. So yeah.
So there was the question if we have a timetable when we can able to release the next single cast. I would like to say it would be great to have them here tomorrow, but at the moment, I think we can't talk about exact date, but it's the near future, I would say.
Speaking of the single cask, I think we should continue with the lineup and take the first single cask of the evening,
which is cask number 2932.
I have a question. I have a question regarding the peated. Do you distill with peated malt, or do you infuse them with peated casks?
No, so we don't have any peated casks at our distillery. Earlier, what we used to do was that there was a time when we could import peat from Scotland and smoke the Indian 6-row barley. So the first few releases of the peat that you will see in the near future will be of that peated Indian 6-row barley. But then I think over the last couple of years, we are not getting peat from wherever it is, because I think there's some regulations which does not allow peat exports out of Scotland. We are looking for other sources of peat, but what we do is import peated barley and then distill it and mature it in our own cask. So the first few releases that you will see from our distillery will be peated Indian 6-row barleys, and then it will move to peated, probably Scottish barley at some point of time. But we have enough stocks of the peated ones coming in the future with Indian 6-row barley.
Thank you. I'm looking forward for the peated ones because that one. If it's that great, that this one's.
No, Germany has always been a peat loving market. Very special lovers of peat, and we hear stories when we go around the world as to how much Germans love peated whiskies, and I think you are one single market where peated whiskies are loved by people, and people like all types of peat, be it Iden or cough syrup, or let's say whatever it is across. So or soft peat. So it's nice. We are also looking forward to do some peated stuff for Germany. The problem with us, very openly, is that we don't have as much of peated liquid ready to be bottled, although we have a lot maturing. So it may take a little bit more time. So we might have to just wait for it.
No problem. Better wait some more 1-2 years and get good stuff than getting it prematured.
Great. We're doing the cask number 2932, which is a 5-year-old bourbon cask. Here, I feel the cask strength or the heat a little bit hitting on the nose, along with the dry. There's a little bit of dry raisins, dry peaches, sweet barley notes coming in. There is, of course, caramel and vanilla lactones that's played, and there's also a little bit of, I would say, a dash of cinnamon somewhere in the background of it. That's what I get on the nose.
I find the barley very strong. It's like going through a barley field and get the fresh corn if it's almost there to get from the field.
Yeah.
Ich werfe mal ganz kurz den Preis rein. Der Whisky liegt bei 79,90. Also hier sind wir sogar unter 80 Euro.
Krass, ey.
Olli, du scheinst ihn schon genossen zu haben. Wie gefällt er dir?
Oh ja, sorry, ich musste, weil ich die Nase, in English, sorry, but I really like the nose and I needed to try it because it's so interesting and kind of totally different what you know to a normal bourbon cask, if you want to call it like that. It's really interesting how the climate has the influence to the cask. I'm always impressed by that. It doesn't matter from which country. So yeah, sorry, I needed to try it, guys.
So
like it.
Manuel,
And the price is phenomenal. Wow.
Maybe it's a good time to show the box of the bottle.
Yes.
So this is also very special when we talk about a whiskey under 100 euro, under 90 euros, and even under 80 euros. So look at this beautiful box.
Jetzt kriegst du mich natürlich mit genau die total verzogen ist.
Oh wow.
So Madhu, I had the question on the fair last weekend in Hamburg. What kind of wood is that?
Oh, I think this is what do we say? I think it's there's an Indian padak wood or a little bit of rosewood in there. I'm also not really sure about it, Bastian. I need to find out what wood is there in that actually.
Thanks.
But it's a local Indian wood that we get. That's right over here. For me, this on the nose is like ripe apples. Ripe apples, a little bit of ripe bananas, fruits, um, sweet round palate with a bit of spice from the back of the throat. I wish it stayed a little bit longer on the finish, but it still has a nice chewy finish to it. But it's that nice rounded fruits that's keeping on coming in. Very different from Drew. So what I really like about this is it's not like Drew. Drew has got its own individual character, and this has got its own individual character. So it's a very different liquid altogether. I would say.
I would say that the Drew is more fruity, and this one is more vanilla. It's a vanilla bomb. It has so much, and then combined with some wood, spices in the background with a little bit of like milk, like going with milk and spices. So it's like that rounded, a little bit oily.
Mm.
Very, very interesting. But if you ask me, I would prefer the Drew.
Interesting. Probably the Drew is more interesting because I think the blender has really brought in some different casks and tried to bring out the best of the cask. And this is like just a cask by itself.
It's one
I know
aspect
what
on
it,
the Drew. Yeah.
yes, yeah, it's one aspect on the Drew. It's got the nice, as you rightly said, strong flavor of the vanilla coming again and again. But somehow I'm also getting these ripe apples staying with me. The finish is a little bit, the whiskey woody kind of finish, a long, um, a little bit dry as well, I would say. Probably I'm feeling the dryness because of the strength, but that's the only reason why I can find the dryness on it. But it's a very interesting dram altogether. Manuel, if you want to share the deck, I would like to share some information. Uh,
Can you control it, or do I have
yes,
to?
I can
Yeah, you
control
can.
it. So
Okay, perfect.
yeah, so this one is our warehouse. So when you see this whole building, that's one warehouse. We have about 40,000 barrels sitting in. So we don't have multiple warehouses. It's one warehouse with one roof, and you can pretty much see the entrance of the warehouse over there, and it's like it's ventilated, but there's no artificial climate or temperature controlling the warehouse. We are a distillery which is surrounded by a lot of fields, sugarcane fields, potatoes, mustard, and a lot of things. Now this is the map of India. If you see the red dot, the red star on the top of the thing, that's where our distillery is located. So we are right up north, 3.5 hours drive from New Delhi, or Delhi, which is the capital of India. And if you go up, you can see that star. You can also see that we are not very far away from the Himalayan mountains. So if you see the blue lines in between them, these are the rivers that are flowing from the Himalayas, and they flow all the way down to the Bay of Bengal. So one of the river, which is called as Yamuna, flows a few miles away from our distillery. So the groundwater source is very rich. There is a lot of a good groundwater source that is from the river Yamuna that flows through the distillery. We've seen this as a very old picture of how an Indian family set up the distillery years ago. We tasted the Trini. We know what it is special of. A lot of awards that we have won for Indri Trini. But what I really wanted to show you was this gentleman. Surinder is our master distiller and blender. So we used to have a Scottish distiller for a brief period of time called Graham Bowie, but he could not continue with us, unfortunately. But Surinder was associated with the distillery for the last 5 years. He's been with our distillery. And Surinder is also called as the father of Indian single malt because he was the master distiller and blender of Amrut for almost 33 years. And when he decided to retire, we found him and said, we're going to get you here with our distillery. And he continues to work for our distillery. And that's the brew that you tasted. So just to give you some pictures of the distillery, which I really wanted to show to you. So these are the fermentation tanks that we have in the distillery, 8 fermentation tanks with a capacity of about 50,000 liters each. And these are the copper pot stills, entirely made in India. You can see the 3, wash stills and the 3 spirit stills. The spirit stills have these nice gooseneck to it, or the reflex ball to it. And all of them are made in India. Initially we had 4, and then we added 2 more stills to the distillery. And that's how the inside of the warehouse looks like. So it's like layers racked one after the other, up to about 16, 17 high. And the Oloroso sherry butts are lying on the floor on the right hand side of the picture. So that's a little bit about how the warehouse looks from inside. These are the single casks that we bottled specifically for Germany. 2932, which we're tasting now. We'll do the 272 and the 303, which is a wine cask later. And this is Kishore, our warehouse keeper. He's been with our distillery ever since 2010 we started. And he's one man who knows which barrel tastes good. So if I'm picking some single cask, I would go to him and I ask him, hey, you know what? These are the type of notes that I'm looking for. Can you find out one? And he exactly knows which barrel will give what kind of character. So if you're
Quick
ever
interruption. Here's a question. Why are all single casks bottled at exactly 58.5%?
Perfect. So it's a very good question to have. So all the single casks are of different ABVs, which is like some of them are at 62, some of them are at 60. As I said, we can't bottle anything in India above 60% ABV. And the second thing is for every label with different ABV that we register with the state excise, we have to pay $2,000. So if I'm doing a single cask at 59.5, I have to pay $2,000, even though I can only bottle 150 bottles out of it. And if I have to bottle something else at 58.8, I have to pay another $2,000 to the state excise. So because of the excise rules, we had to, first of all, bring it below 60% and then keep the ABV same, which is at 58.5, so that we could have the labels passed by the excise with one-time label registration fees. We are sorry that we couldn't bottle exactly at the cost, whatever it was, but it's because of the rules of the government that we can't do anything about it. So we could have either bottled at 59.5 or 58.5, but we decided 58.5 to be the sweet spot, and hence all the single casks have been bottled at 58.5. But it's just one cask that's bottled. There's no mixing of cask or anything of that sort.
So if that helps to keep the price that in that good balance, we are totally happy with that.
Bastin, to be very, very honest, yes, we did not reduce the ABV to keep the prices sharp. It is just that the excise does not allow us, or we have to pay multiple fees, and it will make us the business not feasible. So
Sure.
so that's what it is. But yes, yeah, good point.
Achim, ja, es waren 4 Single Casks in Deutschland. Wir mussten uns fürs Line-Up natürlich jetzt entscheiden, was wollen wir mit reinnehmen. Und dann war einfach der Faktor, machen wir 2 Deutschland-Premieren oder machen wir ein weiteres Singlecast? Und dann haben wir uns gemeinsam für eine weitere Deutschland-Premiere entschieden. So, Madhu, please continue.
We do have a small cooperage inside our distillery. So where, because we sell a lot of things in bulk, we do char and rechar a lot of barrels and shave them, toast them, retoast them, and put it inside for further maturation. We're going to talk about the rum later, but I just wanted to show you these pictures before we go ahead and taste the other ones, just to give you an idea of what the distillery looks like and what it looks like.
Perfekt, thank you.
Sorry for taking a lot of time.
No. Ich sehe gerade, Facebook funktioniert bei dem Stream nicht. Das nur für euch zur Info. Ich weiß nicht, woran es liegt. Ich kann es auch gerade nicht ändern, aber ich denke, die meisten kriegen das auch so. Holly, wir haben wieder ein Echo.
Oh, das gibt's doch nicht. Okay, ja, ich komme gleich nochmal. Ja, bis gleich.
Okay. Is everyone done with the single cask or?
Yes, but I have a question regarding the warehouse, because I've seen that you're using erect warehouses. How much casks do you have on top of each other? Because I think the warehouse looks very tall.
Very true. I think we have about 17 layers.
Wow, that's tall. You have to plan which cask you go to.
And it goes very deep inside. So after some time, when you turn around and see, it's all warehouse, barrels everywhere, and you can't see the door. So that's how deep it is. So that's why I showed the picture of our warehouse keeper. Our blender, the entire distillery, he's the backbone. He knows what sits where and when, what is pulled out, which is filled, refill. Of course, there's a computer system that we have entered into all the details, but still, that person is very important for us at the distillery, the warehouse keeper. And most of the times, we always talk about the blenders and distillers and the owners, but many times we forget that the backbone of a distillery is actually the warehouse keepers.
Especially when we see your climate conditions you have in India. He has to try the casks more often than his colleagues have to do in Scotland.
Oh, absolutely. More often. And also, if you can just imagine the working conditions, like if he has to go inside that warehouse and people working inside the warehouse in summers to draw liquid, it is not easy. To be very honest, every single time I go into the warehouse and get out, irrespective of, except during winters, I'm completely drenched. And I feel sticky and drenched. And sometimes I wonder how these human beings over here are working in this condition day after day after day. So my respects for these people who are working over there,
You said you have a ventilation system, but the heat is different depends on where the cask is stationed, right? If it's on the top, it's probably hotter than it's on the bottom, right?
Yes.
So the maturation of the cask
Absolutely.
is totally variable.
Is that planned
Very different.
that you put several casks on purpose on the top levels, or is it just where space they are going? And
to be very honest with you, I think it was not our intention to put certain casks on the top. It was just that we were filling them one after the other, rack after rack, and we had to use our space to the full. We have now at our distillery built 2 more warehouses, smaller ones, which have capacities about 10 to 15,000 barrels, more smaller ones. But again, we are doing the racking system over there, not the palletizations or the system that's followed elsewhere.
I was asking because I know from the Americans that they did like the cask rotation from top to down, and the bottom ones are more expensive than the top ones, and I don't know.
We are not still that smart.
There's room for more experiments in the future.
Someone asked if the distillery can be visited because he's in Delhi in a couple of weeks next year, for a couple of weeks next year.
We are building a visitor center at the distillery, and it's expected to be opened before the end of the year. So next year we'll be open for visitors. But you guys are special. If you are there in Delhi anytime, and if you want to come down and visit the distillery, all you have to do is send me a note through, through Manuel or through Prineus, and we'll be happy to have you there. The warning is that if you visited distilleries in Scotland and if you visit a distillery in India, they're going to be different because we are we are in an industrial space. So that's what it is.
Okay, Basti and Thomas, if you go to India, maybe you have an empty seat for me.
So if you book your flight, you're welcome.
No problem.
So we're
Okay.
really looking forward to visit Indri next February, especially meet the guy we saw on the picture, and I think he will show us some really good casts there.
Oh, absolutely. I think he's going to show us some good casks, which we can bottle for German market. Maybe some peated ones as well, but let's see.
Shall we
Right,
continue
number
to the
4.
next single cask?
Yes, please. So the next cask that we're going to do is cask number 272. Now this is a 7-year-old bourbon cask. Now 7 years, we've lost like say 65% of the liquid, and the color is deep, dark, amberish, reddish color that we get again, pretty much like the Drew. For me, on the nose, my first nose, of course, hits with the alcohol, but there's again loads of vanilla over there, loads of caramel over there, loads of honey, a little bit of chocolate. A very interesting dry. How do I say this? It's like a little bit of dry, smoked. Like if you just burn shavings of wood. After the carpenter shaves the wood, and when they are like burning the shavings of the wood, there's a smoke that comes in, like woody smoke. That's also evident on the nose. Maybe pineapple, burnt pineapple.
I have some fruit bread.
Fruit bread, interesting.
If we have the pineapple that often in that bourbon cask, what are typical notions or fruits that in your new make before casking? Is there pineapple in the new make as well?
Yes, please. We do get pineapple. We do get mangoes. We do get a little bit of bananas. There is also like a little bit of the jackfruit, durian fruit kind of a nose that's also there, which I personally get. Also, our new make is very herbaceous, so you get a lot of green barley, green grass. So those are the kind of nose that you get on the new make spirit. So it is very fruity. Yet we get fresh grass, fresh green, barley, sweet barley notes on this. So yeah.
Basti, wo liegen wir hier preislich?
Das sage ich sehr gerne. 87,90 ist bei uns auch tatsächlich schon ausverkauft. Das heißt, der ein oder andere Händler wird vielleicht noch ein Fläschchen haben. Oder aber ihr ergreift die Gelegenheit und besucht uns in Hofheim auf den Whisky and Tobacco Days oder auf der Whisky-Messe in Bremen im November. Dafür haben wir noch ein paar Fläschchen zurückgehalten, damit wir auf den Messen auch noch ein bisschen was da haben. Aber ansonsten bei uns tatsächlich auch schon durch.
Holly, I think you need to unmute
Yes,
yourself.
I'm muted. Basti, do you have something for the Aquavit if you are still in this fair?
Excuse me?
Seid ihr auf der
Once again?
Are you on the Aquavit in Mülheim?
No, sorry.
Okay, it's gonna be the bottom market. That's
So on the palate, for me, it was baked pineapple. I'm sorry, I didn't say cheers. So I just went on to taste it. But you cheers to you guys.
Cheers, Madhu. So I had pineapple, barbecue pineapple. So that's what I have in my nose, with like red paprika and pineapple. The spice, the paprika spice. Bit of honey and pineapple.
Oh yes, it's like take the pineapple, dip it in honey, then barbecue it, then add red paprika on top of it, and take a bite. A little bit charred, and that's how that will taste. Yeah.
I have a tropical fruit salad. Yeah, the pineapple is the predominant fruit here, but it's not the dark fruits. It's just the tropical other fruits, and like a whole mixture. And yeah, not so many vanillas like in the other single cask, but they're still there. But the fruit is dominating the dram.
And very viscous on the palate, very oily on the palate.
I was a little bit worried on the alcohol because it's what was more dominant in the nose than with the other cask, but on the palate it's not. Yeah, you know it's strong alcohol, but more bound into the dram than on the other single cask.
So, meine Kollegen, Thema Aquavitae, haben mich gerade darauf hingewiesen, dass der Whiskyhändler Whisky Sky auf der Aquavitae noch ein paar Fläschchen vom 5 Jahre und vom 7 Jahre alten Weinfass dabei haben wird. 5 Jahre Bourbon, 7 Jahre Weinfass dabei haben wird.
Gerade beim 7 Jahre Wein sollten die Leute zugreifen, weil er ist ansonsten schwer zu bekommen inzwischen.
So for me,
Madhu, here's a question in the chat.
Yes,
if it's possible to get some new make from your distillery, like a bottle or two.
I'm sure that's not a very difficult thing to do. I'm sure what we will do is either when I'm traveling or when these guys are coming over next year to the distillery, I'll let them carry some new make spirit. We also have now distilled some Indian Turo barley as well. So the new make spirit is very different from the Indian Turo barley. So they're not the European Turo barley, but the Turo barley, which is sown in India. So maybe 2 bottles of each. Bastian, you need to leave your bag empty for that.
You're very welcome for that. Sure, I will.
For a fair, that would be very great to taste new make on fairs. I will make sure we will have it on fairs. Just a little sip to try, and for the Indri masterclasses we will do in Germany. For that, it's very, very great to taste, because if you buy 30 CL or 70 CL on that, that's so much, too much. On that dram, I've watered it down a little bit, and now I have black tea in the aftertaste. Great.
Black tea. I also did add 2 drops of water by the side, and when I nosed it, I got a little bit of the green guavas and a little bit of passion fruit somewhere on the palate after I finished it across. So 2 drops of water, and then it's starting to give me different flavors.
I think the 2 years give the whiskey more complexity.
Oh yes, you're right, Ike. I think I think with a little bit of water, what is also probably I started feeling in the palate is a little bit of let's say lemon. I don't know why, but
Someone wrote in the chat
Yeah, like
lemongrass.
lemongrass. Basti, kannst du das nochmal wiederholen?
Whiskey Sky.
Okay, das wird der Stand sein, an dem sich dann an der Aquavita am ersten Tag alle prügeln.
So wird es sein, so wird es sein. Wir werden ihn darauf vorbereiten.
Aber wir haben 5 Freunde mit, das heißt, wir haben eine große Chance. Nee, aber der ist echt mega.
Also bis jetzt war nichts Schlechtes dabei heute.
And everything we tasted after the Trini was better than the Trini, and the Trini itself was a great dram to start with. It speaks for the quality if we say the Trini is the bad one of the 4.
It would be very interesting for you to go ahead and try the Trini after you try the next dram, which is the wine cask. Right now, what is very interesting is the Trini has 3 woods, which is the wine, the sherry, and the bourbon. Now you've tasted 2 bourbons, 5 and 7 years old, and you also tasted Drew, which is a bourbon. Now you're going to taste a 7-year-old wine cask, and then when you go back and I'm sure people who are tasting have the bottles of Trini a little bit left, and if you taste the Trini, maybe you'll start questioning yourself: is Trini has a better influence of bourbon or a better influence of wine cask? Because sherry is definitely the smaller component in it. Let's say 10 to 15% of sherry in it. The rest is bourbon cask. I know as much as I know. So it'll be interesting for all of you to start guessing, whether it's the wine or the bourbon that's playing the character of the Trini actually.
But Madhu, that's the point. We need a sherry single cask to rebuild the Trini in Germany with single casks.
Exactly, and I could offer Trini deconstruction tastings, masterclass tastings in Germany. So Madhu, we really need a sherry cask.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I have listened to you. I've registered it. Let's make it happen.
Thank you, Mario, for the offer about new make. Totally amazed about your spirit and your kindness. Wow.
Thank you, Whiskey Bear. I wish I could give you a hug, like a bear-like hug to you as well. Yes.
Okay. Should we go to the next one, or are you still enjoying the bourbon cask? Bevor ich den Basti auch hier nochmal zum Preis frage, wollte ich nochmal darauf hinweisen, wir machen das Ganze hier natürlich für einen sehr, sehr guten Zweck, nämlich für Kinderherzen. Und alles, was ihr beim Einkauf der Flaschen sparen könnt, weil die so saumäßig günstig sind, könnt ihr natürlich dann als Ausgleich für den guten Zweck spenden. Wir versuchen dieses Jahr unser Rekordjahr vom letzten Jahr zu toppen. Es wird, glaube ich, ziemlich schwierig, aber ihr könnt mithelfen, das zu toppen. Ich bin guter Dinge.
Und nicht vergessen, jeder Euro zählt. Ja, wenn 100 Leute 1 Euro spenden, ist das auch schon sehr viel wert.
Und wir spenden für das Nationale Register für herzkranke Kinder und da gibt es eine Stiftung, ich habe sie gerade nicht auswendig im Kopf, die dahinter hängt, die jeden gespendeten Euro nochmal verdoppelt. Also alles, was wir sammeln, wird am Ende verdoppelt. Und wenn wir die 20.000 Euro knacken, haben die hinterher wahrscheinlich ein Budgetproblem.
Vielleicht. Wissen die, was wir letztes Jahr eingenommen haben, bevor ich das gehört habe? Voll gut.
Also die Stiftung ist nicht mit dabei. Ich arbeite mit Kinderherzen, nicht mit der Stiftung, die die Beiträge verdoppeln wollte.
Ja, perfekt. Ja, also Freunde, ne? wie Manu schon gut gesagt hat und Basti ja immer wieder grinst hier bei den Preisen, die er aufruft, zu Recht. Das, was wir echt an guten Preis haben, überlegt mal, was ihr dafür ausgeben müsstet, solltet ihr das aus Schottland holen. Und das könnt ihr ja mal wirklich hier mit in den Pott hauen.
Ja, dann bleibt mir nur der glückliche Moment zu sagen, auch hier sind wir bei 87,90, nochmal unter 90 Euro. Ja.
Aber ich bin vorgestern schon angefahren worden durch unser Tasting und ich glaube, Jason hat sie vor ein paar Tagen verkostet. Das Wine Cask ist nahezu überall in Deutschland ausverkauft. Also wer nach Mülheim kommt, der sollte Ellenbogen mitbringen.
Ja, tatsächlich. Extrem gutes Feedback. Auch der Kollege von Whisky Zoom hat es jetzt auch nochmal bewertet, war extrem begeistert. Und die Reaktion hatten wir jetzt gerade in Hamburg auf der Messe. Ja, genau. So, Madhu, let's talk about the wine cask.
The wine cask is a very different animal altogether.
Yeah.
When I say different animal, it's very different from what we have tasted. And now it was very smart of the Prineus team. See, I had sent about 6 samples to the Prineus team to choose what single cask they want to pick up. And I was surprised and happily surprised that they picked up the wine cask 303. Now the 303 is 7 years in French red wine cask, and you can just feel it on the nose immediately. It's those red berries hitting you, nuts, spices, acidic wineish notes that's hitting you, along with a hint of vanilla that's passing by. You know, those sweet berries that hang fresh, and then you just take a bite. Interesting on the nose. I would love to listen from the people who are tasting it as to what they're getting about, because this is a very different cask, and
The berry note is predominant here. You have no vanilla. All we have on the other cast is not here, not present at all. But you have the tannins from the wine a little bit combined with the grapes and the berries.
Yeah, and a little bit of spices. You know, those peppers and a little bit of those nutmeg.
Yeah, with the spices, I will try it on neat on the strength here, and we'll water it with water, and let's see what we have with water later. It smells so good. I want to try it.
Yeah, let's try it.
Cheers.
Basti, du wirktest gerade etwas verwirrt.
Ja, die Frage, wer denn Prineus Lars nicht dabei ist. Mir ist ein Prineus Lars bisher nicht bekannt bei uns in der Firma.
Okay.
Und da wir nur zu 5 sind, beziehungsweise zu 4 sind, dachte ich eigentlich, ich kenne jeden. Cheers.
So, in Hofheim wird es noch ein wenig vom 303 geben.
Aha.
So, Stefan sagt ein bisschen sauer. Madhu, is it red or white wine? It's red wine cask, right?
Red. All of them are red wine casks, actually.
But is it also a French red wine cask?
Yes, please.
Good.
I know what Stefan Stefan having on the sour note. Yes, there is this little bit, but
But it's
For
like
me,
more von einer Blechkuhle before, like
Yeah.
the Sauerheit. Was heißt das auf Englisch nochmal?
sourness.
Ah, oh, yeah, wow, that makes sense. What is today? It's like a crazy day. I don't know what's going on, but yeah, like more like that.
I like the way Orimo said it's got the black tea. Like the moment you pour the black tea just to the nice boiling point onto your cup, so it's got a black tea. It's got those red dry wine flavors, dark fruits. I also get a little bit of vanilla pudding on the palate, dark chocolates. Um, like really dark chocolates with a dash of spice thrown in, so that's what I feel on the palate, but there is a little bit of dryness coming through, the dryness is there.
Yeah, Stefan is writing on the wine sourness, not like sourness you get from acid or citrus. Yeah, like the last bit on the wine, if you on the aftertaste. Yeah, I'm totally on that. And yeah, for me, typical wine cask like you get from wine full maturation from Scotland as well, and it's on par with some full maturation wine cask like some Bruichladdich. They're typical for that, and yeah, I think that is a great honor if you say you're on par with some Scottish wine casks.
Thank you so much.
Lovely dram.
Thank you so much, Ike. And we're talking about distilleries who've been there for ages together, right? Somebody like Bruichladdich, they know the art, then they have been there for a long time doing good stuff. So.
Oh, I love this one. This one with Pete would be amazing.
It's also without, but
no.
this yeah.
For me, it's amazing anyway, with or without Pete.
It is.
Definitely. Yummy. So if anyone is there on Saturday on the, what was it? Oh no, you are in Bremen, not in Accra. Oh, sorry. Don't forget.
So now, after all these drams, I feel I'm getting into a happy high. So
Yeah, me too.
And on that dram, I'm a little bit disappointed that I only have 2 CL because I need much more for the complexity to get through because on the first sip, I was only tasting it and there was the hint on the complexity. Yeah, but I have to leave something in the glass because my girlfriend wants to try everything afterwards.
Yes, loose cannon. That's a little bit of dried raisins there, definitely for sure. And I like this. It's very interesting. The unfortunate, sad thing is, when I ask my distillery to send me samples, they send me 50 ml of the sample. So that's all I've got in the glass left, because everything that they've bottled has been sent to Germany. They have one bottle at the distillery as a counter sample, and every time we want to draw the sample, they send me a small amount of that. So if I need to drink one, I need to come to Germany and buy a bottle.
If it's still possible, I think that's the problem here.
So
how
make sure to come to a fair, Eike. So, but yeah, okay. Sorry, Manuel, go on.
Madhu, how many of the casks in your warehouse are wine casks?
Oh, we do have about, I think about 10,000 to 15,000 wine casks sitting in our warehouse.
So
yeah,
there will be plenty of good casks as well.
Oh, yes. See, and probably that's one of the reasons why we wanted to launch the first expression as a triple cask and make it a flagship expression, so that we've got enough bourbon, enough wine and sherry, so that we can keep producing Trini as much as we can produce. You'd be surprised to hear that 80% or 75 to 80% of what we produce is consumed in India, and only 20% is exported outside. So there is a huge demand for Trini within India, and we need that much quantity of the wine and the bourbon and the sherry cask to match the demands that's happening in India also.
Speaking of this, there was a question in the chat earlier today. How do you compete toward the super cheap mass blends in India?
Oh, good question.
Very, very nice question. So, I think one thing that I can very confidently speak about of the distilleries that I know in India, which is ourself, which is Piccadilly Distilleries, which makes Indri, about Amrut, Paul John, we all stick 100% to the regulations as it is done in Scotland, which is barley, which is the grain, distilled, matured under one roof for a minimum of 3 years, and then bottled. In fact, all our expressions are above 6 years or 5.5 years. To at least the barrel's minimum is 5.5 years. So everything is above that. It's all matured in oak barrels under one roof, and in using one grain, which is the barley. Um, Now, Indian market is growing year on year, where a lot of people are appreciating themselves from cheap molasses-based spirit whiskey, or let's say rum flavored whiskey, to good blended whiskeys, and then people who are consuming blended whiskeys are appreciating themselves to single malt whiskeys. Uh, we are estimating the single malt whiskey market in India to be about Indian single malts to be about 300,000 cases. So there is a lot of people who are appreciated or evolved themselves to single malt whiskies. We cannot compete with the blended whiskies. A cheap blended whiskey starts anywhere from uh, €4 a bottle, and it can go, let's say, a blended whiskey which has got grain based ENA spirit with colors, caramel flavoring added, and let's say 10 to 15% of malt spirit added, it can go up to let's say €15. So that's a range. So from €3 4 to €15, there are like over 100 brands of blended whiskies that's happening in India. And then there is imported Scotch, which is coming from Scotland, which is the 10, 12, and the 15-year-old, and then the premium ones. And then there is an Indian single malt category. The Indian single malt category is growing at an average of 35% year on year within India. And we believe that it's because a lot of the young Indians are traveling outside, they're seeing what is the better liquid that's available. They get to read things from the social media, and they want to drink good stuff available out over there. So that's what is happening in India at the moment.
Do you have special Indian, also special typical Indian casks, like for example, we know the Israeli casks like pomegranate? Is there something special in India you are experimenting with?
To be very honest, I'm a big fan of the milk and honey pomegranate cask. I like the story of how the pomegranate cask from milk and honey, and how every street in Israel make pomegranate juice and mature it. Unfortunately, we don't have anything like that in India. Um, I would love to make a mango, something with mango flavored, predominant. And if ever that happens, that'll be like my dream tram. Imagine you having, just smelling of mangoes in every time. But unfortunately, we don't have anything like that at the moment. Um, I like the project that was done by Amrut, the Narangi, that they did, where they seasoned the cask with orange peels before they matured some of the whiskeys in it. But I think that's the best that we can do. I don't think we do have something like the pomegranate cask that Milk and Honey did with But kudos to Milk and Honey for going ahead and doing that and bringing it out so that we can taste.
Okay, thanks. So if there is no question left, we are done with the whiskeys for today. And we are heading
So I have a
towards...
question,
Okay.
Manuel. If people are not having any questions, it's either they're convinced, they're happy, they're not happy. I don't know. I just wanted to know the sense of the room.
Well,
What did they feel
the
before
German
we started?
comments are, everyone is loving it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so
And
much.
all are saying there's not a bad sample yet. So everyone is very excited.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you so much. Now we are moving to a totally different thing, which is this beautiful rum from India. Go ahead, Manuel. You can show them.
I love that. Oh, nice.
Schick. 8 Jahre, by the way.
Good.
And then on the nose, I have mashed banana.
Yeah, totally. Totally. With chocolate.
And
Are
I'm
you
not the rum.
planning to
I'm not.
mature your whiskey in rum casks?
Oh yes,
Ooh.
Odimo. One of our desires that since we are making rum in the same distillery, we would definitely mature our rum in some of our own rum casks, and we want to see how the product turns. Now, the rum is totally different. You need to understand that the northern part of India, where our distillery is located, is surrounded by sugarcane fields. So this is 100% Indian sugarcane, which we do it the agricole style. So it's the sugarcane juice and not the molasses. So it's sugarcane juice that's fermented immediately after crushing, and then we distill it in the same pot stills that we distill our single malt whiskies, and mature it in ex-bourbon cask and wine cask. So this has got both ex-bourbon and wine cask in it, and you can see how the distillate changes and the cask influences a good rum. So it's a pure sipping rum. We came out with a 12-year-old expression as our launch, which was limited to a few hundred bottles worldwide, like 1,200 bottles for the Europe. If we go to the presentation, um, uh, yes, so that was how the 12-year-old came. So the 12-year-old is bottled at 50% ABV. We are the first distillery in India to make a pure cane juice rum. There's no other distillery in India which makes pure cane juice. Everything is either molasses based or spirit with flavors infused rums. So we are 100% pure cane juice rum with no added sugar, no added sweetener, no added color, no added flavor. So whatever you get out of this rum is natural. So the 12-year rum was limited to 1,200 bottles to Europe, out of which I think a few hundred bottles made their way to Germany. So it's still available in the German market. But what we are tasting now is the 8-year-old rum. Now the 8-year-old rum is very interesting because it's got the 12-year-old, but it's got its own unique characters. So that's okay. You have the tasting notes over there as well. So I don't have to do that for you, but um, for us, the 8-year-old rum is going to be the core expression. We're going to do lots and lots of the 8-year-old. People who would like to drink it sipping would love to drink it sipping. Use it in mixology if people like to. But I don't know how much of a rum a lot of whiskey drinkers around the world, when I go ahead and pour them a dram of the rum, they're like, no, that's not my kind. But I think it's good to nose the fruits. It's good to nose the bananas, the crushed bananas, as Ika said. There's a little bit of those gentle, peppery, spicy notes that comes in.
We got a great question from the community here. Rum agricole is French. would have assumed rum style would be British. Why do you choose agricole style?
Very interesting. The rest of India have followed. The rest of India had followed the British style, which is the molasses-based rums. For us, we have a small background to it. So the place where our distillery is located, we also have a sugar manufacturing unit, and surrounded by sugarcane fields, we get hundreds and hundreds of tractors of fresh sugarcane um, coming into our distillery, where the sugar manufacturing unit is there. So when we set up the distillery, um, a lot of people in the rest of India don't have access to fresh sugarcane, whereas we had access to fresh sugarcane, and we said, let's get the juice and make rum in a different style and not go the molasses route. I think it was one of the visions of the owner, or probably the founders of the distillery had tasted some good agricole style rums. Like I know my owner likes rums made by Richard Seal. So I think he draws his inspirations from there. But this was without any guidance, without any knowledge. It was just an experimental project for us, where we crushed juice, put them into barrels, and this is what the liquid turned out to be. Honestly.
At what ABV? At what kind of ABV are we? Are we at 50% as the
This
12?
this is 43%, 42.8%.
Okay. Thank you.
Zum Wohl.
Cheers.
I would say this is a nice dessert to finish the evening with. Before you finish your tasting, I think it's a beautiful dessert to finish. Nice, sweet fruits. There's a little bit of hint of leather, spices, but the spice is not overpowering. The finish is, because of 43%, you don't feel it on the palate, but then it's a nice sipping dessert, I would say.
What I like about it is it's not too sweet like many other rums, which are too sweet. This one is excellent.
Is that one completely natural without any additionals? Okay.
It's 100% natural. There's no
Great.
added sugar, not even a percentage of sugar added. It's 100% natural.
I have to admit, I'm not the rum expert, and I've never tried a rum tasting like that, so I'm a little bit confused right now.
I think this is the rum whiskey drinkers also like, because there is no added sugar. That makes it more easy to drink for whiskey lovers.
Yeah, and it doesn't have that flavors that I don't like about typical rums. So even though I'm confused, I really like that one. So for me personally, the best rum I've ever tried. There are not so many, but I'm more than the whiskeys.
Okay, geben wir Basti nochmal sein Highlight. Basti, was kostet das Ding?
Ja, beim Rum muss ich euch leider enttäuschen. Das ist was ganz anderes. Na Quatsch. Wir sprechen auch hier von 38,90.
Alter, nicht dein Ernst, ey.
Ja, ich gebe es nur gerne weiter. Also, schlag zu.
Holly, wir dürfen nicht zu viel loben, sonst werden die hinterher teurer.
Das ist nicht unser Ansinn. Nein, aber tatsächlich bei 38,90 sprechen wir ja auch von einem Rum, der wirklich auch eine tolle Mixability mit sich bringt und tatsächlich auch durchaus auch für die Barkeeper dieser Welt interessant ist, weil mit 38,90 in der Bar hast du einen Rum, den du tatsächlich auch abbilden kannst, hinterher dann in sehr guten Drinks. Und da haben wir wirklich eine tolle Sache entdeckt. Ja.
Total.
Ja, The Room Waiter habe ich auch schon mal gehört. Ganz neu. So, not too sweet is so much agricole style, like the complexity.
Thank you so much.
Will there be more room expressions coming, or will the 8-year-old be the only one available?
The 12-year-old is already available in the market. The 8-year is the next expression. And then maybe sometime next year, we will come up with a 3-year-old as well. Now, 3-year-old will talk about the pure character of the sugarcane. It'll be very sweet, sugarcane-ish, but again, 100% natural. So, yeah.
Jetzt bin ich verwirrt, Marc, Björn. Hier steht Limited Edition. Du sagst, das ist der Standard. Was denn jetzt?
Yes,
maybe
the
Madhu-
12-year-old is...
Yeah.
The
So
12-year
maybe
is
you
a
can-
very limited edition. Yeah.
Yeah, but on the bottle for the 8-year-old, there's it's also a limited edition, but it's a kind of, so the 8-year-old will be kind of core range, but filled in batches, right?
Yes, of course. The 8-year-old,
Okay.
we don't have as much that we can bottle continuously. It is
Yeah.
limited, but we can come out with 1 or 2 batches every year because we don't have as much as the whiskey that we are matured the rums. It was an experimental project for us. The 12-year-old was super limited. It's each bottle is numbered. So in the 12-year-old, if you see that every bottle has got a number on it of the 1,200 bottles, when you buy a pack, you know which bottle you've got. The 8-year-old, we are not numbering it, but this is going to be in limited batches as well.
How do you distill the rum on this? Is it distilled on the same pot stills as like the whiskey? Okay.
Absolutely. So we do distill them in the same pot stills as the whiskey. We also have rums that are distilled out of a column still. And then there are some batches where we have blended the column still and the pot still together and put them into barrels. So we'll have a lot of experimental things happening in the future for us, actually.
And the column still you have in house, or is it then distilled?
It's an
somewhere
in-house
else?
column still.
Okay.
So we do have a small distillation unit in our distillery, which does ENA spirit as well, because our distillery also makes a local country liquor. When I say country liquor, it is just ENA with flavored color and flavor added to it, which is probably sold. We sell about like 500,000 cases of that country liquor every month. So that's for which we do have our own column stills, which makes extra neutral alcohol from both grain and from sugarcane molasses. But that's a separate distilling unit altogether. The distilling unit that we have for our malt unit is copper pot stills, oak barrels, and we follow all the disciplines that is required to make a good whiskey and of course a good rum.
How many casks of rum do you have in your warehouses?
Very little. I think probably a few thousand, maybe 1,000 or 2,000 casks in total of all the ages, like the 3, the 5, the 7, 8, 10, and 12-year, one more batch maybe next year. So that's what it is.
Okay. So I'm curious about your opinion about the lineup. So
Awesome.
here is a ranking where you can tell us about your priorities. And Madhu, here was another question. Will there be a cask strength room?
I doubt. We don't have plans at the moment. We are also new to the space of rum, so we are trying out. So the 12 years was bottled at 50%. The 8 years is at 43%. Maybe if the market is interested and if there is an interest that we're getting from a particular market for a cask strength rum, we'll be happy to bottle it at a cask strength for that particular market. It's a single cask as well,
And Tom said everything was good, a wirklich good surprise.
Thank you so much, Tom.
It's really hard to make a decision right now to rank those things. I mean, we will have a sixth place, but that doesn't mean that it wasn't good. But it's a tough decision this time.
So I don't want to influence your ranking, but after you have ranked, I would like to say what my personal favorite is.
Cask strength room would be great. And
Thanks, Stefan.
Stefan doesn't know how he should rank.
I think
Wow.
everyone has this issue. It's like, what? And to be honest, I didn't expect that. Normally, if you have a tasting of 5 whiskeys or with a rum, you always have one that you don't like, kind of. Not that you don't like it, but it's not that good as the others. But this time it's like, I have no clue how to rank. Really. Really good.
For me, the rum is on the last place because I like all the whiskeys more.
Yeah.
But it doesn't say that the rum is bad by any means.
Yeah.
And to have 6 drams, and I was really suspicious. Like as I heard, 5 whiskeys and a rum. I said, okay, the whiskey maybe, and the rum, okay. If they insist, then okay. But I'm surprised. It's much better than I thought, and everything were great and tasty stuff today.
Yeah.
And I've tried to look for the wine single cask, and I found it only for much too high prices.
Like always.
Yeah, Indri, the next Springbank. No, oh god.
No, I'm happy that if people recognize the quality of the whiskies, but we want to keep our position very clean, that we want to be an affordable single malt where people can enjoy it every single day. For me personally, I think I would like to drink Indri like a Monday breakfast whiskey, Tuesday evening whiskey, and stuff like that. It's like an everyday dram because Trini for me is very simple, clean. It's complex, but it's not really complex and not very overpowering. Drew is beautifully complex. It's got a lot of flavors, multi-layered. Something that I would like to sit and probably speak to it for some time. Each single cask is unique. I like both 303 and 2932. Both of them are very different and distinct in character. I'm not a rum drinker as well. I got introduced to agricole style rums only when, one fine day the management decided that to bottle rums, and they said, okay, now we are going to bottle rums and we'll taste rums. And I started tasting rums. So I don't have an opinion of the rums, but I like what we make. I like the fact that we are 100% natural. We don't add sugar to it. It's not those sticky rums that you taste, and it's not the spiced rums that you taste. Everything is natural to it. So for a whiskey drinker, I like the rum. So that's my personal take on it. But I just hope that I saw a few messages from a few people that they like the lineup, they like the price of it. Thank you so much. I know that this is a charity that you're participating in. Thanks so much for coming forward and being a part of this charity event and supporting us. If there are any more questions, I'm very, very happy to answer. So that's where we are.
Okay. I'm just looking at the ranking, and I can say it's very close together, everything. It's
Surprise.
everyone likes something more, but it's very close.
I have a question regarding your lineup. Are there plans for maybe a standard core expression after the Drew? So what do we expect next that is beside the single casks?
Very big challenge for us. A very big challenge for us. Our intention was to come up with a peated trini, but when we look at the number of peat that we have, the quantity of peat we have, we can't probably do it as a core expression. So it's still a mystery. And I'm sure we will probably unravel the mystery soon. We have discussions every single time. Should we do this? Should we do that? We are not very clear, to be very honest.
Happy
Just
to see if
ask
there's
Phineas.
something.
But there's a whiskey called Diwali Collector's Edition.
Yes, I would like to just share with it. So if you can just share the presentation, Manuel, I can. So what we I don't have the image over here. Okay. Um, so so what we have done is we have just launched an edition which is peated sherry cask, which is called as Diwali. Diwali is the festival of lights, the biggest festival in India. So it's on the 4th of November or the 14th of November this year. And for that Diwali, for this Diwali, we are launching uh, sherry butts, one sherry butt to the US, one sherry butt to India, and one sherry butt to Europe. All these sherry butts are peated sherry casks. Uh, 2 years in bourbon, 4.5 years in sherry butts, and they're absolutely delicious liquids. They come in a very beautiful packaging. If you could just give me a minute, I can show you how the packaging is. So that is something that you can expect a few bottles to land up in Germany for sure.
So you should all follow Indri Single Malt on Instagram. There you can see a story about the Diwali. Just
Ooh.
make sure to follow Indri there.
And while Madhu is
the
still working on the picture, I can tell something
Oh, wow.
else, something different. Just remember,
the bottle looks stunning with the flowers.
also
It's great.
während alle anderen gerade nach Instagram gucken und der Madhu nach dem Bild sucht, nicht vergessen, am 6. bis 8.10. ist das Charity-Event auf dem Kanal hier und beim Sascha, wo es eine große Auktion wahrscheinlich an 2 Abenden geben wird. Ich habe jetzt schon um die 130 Artikel. Also ich hoffe, wir kriegen richtig viel Kohle zusammen. Es sind richtige Highlights dabei, wie Handfilled Springbank, wie Schmuck aus Whiskyfässern, wie wieder ein Tasting in Brühl oder euer Gesicht auf einer Ados-Flasche, was auch immer. Ihr könnt es euch nicht vorstellen, es ist alles dabei. Also 7. und 8.10. Charity-Auktion hier auf dem Kanal. Lasst es euch nicht entgehen. So, Madhu, the stage is yours again.
No, I was just trying to find the Diwali edition, and here is what I want to share. So that's how the packaging looks. I don't know if you can see my screen.
Yes, we can.
Yeah, so that's the packaging. It's a limited edition. We've got a nice, beautiful peacock on it. It's a peated sherry cask. It's got subtle peat. The packaging is designed by a designer in India called Krishna Mehta. And the dram is absolutely delicious. It was rated as the best whiskey in the world. When I say best whiskey in the world, Whiskies of the World, which is a competition that's held in the US, has put this whiskey as the best of the show amongst all the other whiskies from across the world that participated in the competition in 2023. And we would be happy to share it with you guys.
And what will be the price for this one?
It might be about 120 to 130 euros max.
Okay, Thomas, if you're still listening backstage, I'll be the first in line, please.
Second.
Okay. So the ranking.
I think it'll be bottled at 59%, 59.5% for the Europe, and a maximum retail price of 130 euros, or maybe less. Whiskey Bear, I really don't know. I wish I could give a lot more bottles to Germany, but you should understand it's only one sherry butt that we are emptying and bottling. So it may be few hundred bottles that's coming to Germany. Yeah, so that's what it is.
Okay. Ich habe dein Interesse vernommen, Manuel.
Sehr gut.
Nicht nur Manuels Lachen, ja?
Holly, du weißt
ihr seht euch doch so häufig, ihr könnt doch teilen.
Holly, das
Aber
ist
nee,
doch,
ich
das
möchte
ist
diese
doch,
schöne Flasche in mein, nein, die Flasche ist so wunderschön. Die muss auf jeden Fall in den Whisky behalten.
Holly, das wäre doch eine wundervolle Gelegenheit, nochmal ein Video zusammen zu machen.
Sowieso, aber trotzdem ist die Flasche so schön, dass ich sie zumindest nicht.
Ja, da können wir ja hinterher drüber reden.
Egal ob leer oder voll.
Darüber können wir ja reden. So, kommen
So,
wir zum
Madhu,
Ranking.
they're just discussing who's getting the first bottle of the new release.
I don't need the first bottle, I need a bottle.
So I think when it is a sherry butt that we are bottling, we're going to number each of the bottles as well, because it might be probably after 6 years we may get probably 500 bottles or something like that, from a butt, or maybe 450 bottles. So every bottle is going to be numbered, and it will be a collector's edition, because the next Diwali we want to come up with something new and something interesting, and as a collector's edition. So yeah.
And bottle number 1 will be in an auction somewhere.
No, bottle number 1, we are keeping ourselves to be showcased at our visitor center.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, as I said, we just price it in such a way that everybody can enjoy it. This being a sherry butt and the two a single cask, that's why the prices have gone up to about 120. Because for the US, we are going to retail it at $130. So I'm estimating 125 euros, 20 euros for 120 euros for Germany at the top. So that's what we are looking at.
Amazing.
Even though it's a little bit higher than the other casks, still a very good price for a single cask. Especially, I don't want to bash the other Indian companies, but if you look on single cask from Paul, John, and Amrut, oh dear. That's one of the points that I was always a little bit hesitating on Indian single malt in the past, because the prices are skyrocketing and the entry prices for the standard releases and the standard expressions are high as well. And yeah, today you've shown that Indian single malt can be great and affordable.
Absolutely, Aika. So one of the conscious decisions when we took loose cannon, yes, we will show more love to Germany for sure. So one of the conscious decisions we have taken is to keep our prices approachable. And you don't have to see, even today, very sadly, a lot of our price, for this particular expression, if you see, a lot of our price goes in the packaging of it. And unfortunately, the market is still driven by the packaging. So if you see the core expression, the corks comes from Portugal for us. So these are grade 1 corks that we use. So the corks come from Portugal for us. The sleeves that goes into it comes from Australia. So these are what is actually adding to the price of the bottle. Now, unfortunately, a larger segment of the market still gives importance to how a product is packaged. So otherwise, we could still offer it at a much better price to you. So that's the challenge of it. So yeah.
If you can drop the prices by 10 euros, I would love to get rid of the whole wooden box. I don't need it. I want to try and to drink it. At the moment I open the bottle, I throw away the wooden box, so it doesn't have any value for me. And I know some others in the community that they throw the wooden boxes into their ovens and to fire them.
Okay, so another question from Stefan. Does Indri sell any cask shares?
We are not into cask investment at the moment. We are starting to look at cask investment and shares at a later point of time. I think we are a small baby out who are trying to do things right, get the liquid right, get the market, understand about our distillery, and spread the word. We do want to do cask investment programs, but it's still not yet fully finalized. If it's there, I'm sure you'll get to know about it, Stefan, from somewhere.
Do you sell casks or new make spirit to independent bottlers?
No, we don't. We don't. We do sell 1 and 2-year-old aged whiskies to other blended whiskey companies, but no new make spirit to anybody at the moment.
I have an independent bottled.
So Kamath is a very interesting project. Even before Indri started, Kamath was liquid that was taken by us and bottled by another company, of which the owners of Piccadilly Distilleries also have a share. But that
Okay.
was much before. We currently are talking to this company to see if Kamath can be bought over completely by Indri at some point of time. Because it was a project that started off much before Indri came into being, it still continues. But there is nobody else at the moment that we are bottling for. I'm sorry, I forgot about Kamath. Yes, but no new make spirit to anybody. Yeah.
So let's come to the ranking. Too bad to say, but the last place. We are not a rum drinking community so far. I'm working on this one, but so far we are not a rum drinking community. So the Kamikara is placed on the last position, but just a few points before that we have the Trini. I think both were very good. Then on the fourth place we have the 5-year-old single cask. The third place is the Drew. The second place is the 7-year-old bourbon cask, and the first place, who could think about this? The wine cask. So more wine casks for Germany, please.
Yep. Why not? I think we do have some good wine casks, so I'm sure we can bottle some more wine casks for Germany as a future single cask bottling.
Basti, I hope you noticed it.
I did.
Or some peated wine for Manuel.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
please. Maybe something with port as well.
We do have some port casks. We do have some Sauternes cask. They're all maturing. We do have some Tokai wine cask as well, so they're also maturing. So we need to wait for some more time before, we want to be sure before we release it out, so that we're not like being in a hurry. Let's do things slowly, but do it correctly, and let's take time. So that's where we are heading to.
Stefan said, totally not my ranking. Well, the ranking was, and it has such a variety. Every position was with votes from everywhere. So, and it was very close by each other. Okay, so don't forget to, yeah.
Madhu just wanted to share his ranking afterwards. So
Oh,
I'm
yes, please.
interested in your ranking.
So for me, I think I would. I somehow for today, for my palate, I like the Drew the best, and followed by the wine cask, Trini, and then I would go for the bourbon cask, the 7-year and the 5-year. Of course, the rum being the last, because I'm also not big into rum, so I don't understand rum so much. But for me, Drew was very well rounded. It was very well done. I think it has got some of the best cask coming in. So it was delicious. It was rounded. I didn't get the spirity single cask note that I sometimes get. So yeah, that's my personal ranking for today. Maybe it changes tomorrow when I taste it again. But yeah.
I can totally understand you, because the Drew was with me in second, close behind the wine cask.
Nice.
And if I don't get the wine cask, I have to get the Drew. Personally, normally I'm a big lover on bourbon casks.
Nice.
and the Drew is playing that very, very well.
Sometimes a good bourbon cask can give so much of character. So I think there's nothing wrong in just being a bourbon whiskey lover.
Yeah, your fruity and the pineapple and the mango, the passion fruit from your distillery character. Yeah, you have good roots there on your new make then.
Absolutely.
Okay, so that was the evening or the morning for Madhu. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us today. Thank you, Madhu. Too much whiskey for the evening. Thank you, Madhu, for your time, for the evening, for the night, for the morning. It was a pleasure to have you here. Danke, Basti und das ganze Prineus-Team für euer Engagement, für die Hilfe, für das Tasting, dass ihr das möglich gemacht habt. Mega, vielen, vielen Dank. Hier.
Gerne.
Eike, Holly und alle, die das Tasting mitgemacht haben, vielen Dank, dass ihr dabei wart. Ich freue mich, dass das Ganze hier so einen Anklang gefunden hat. Mega, ich bin sprachlos und ich freue mich, dass ihr alle mit dabei wart. Dankeschön.
Macht's gut. Ciao.
Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much.
everyone.
Thank you so much, guys. And I look forward to seeing all of you in person in one of the whiskey shows in Germany in the near future. Yeah.
Wenn ihr das nicht
Bye.
verpassen wollt, ganz kurz, wenn ihr das nicht verpassen wollt, wann Madhu in Deutschland ist, folgt am besten Prineus auf Facebook oder mir auf Instagram, bastian_ed_prineus. Ihr bekommt immer mit, wenn Madhu da ist, wann wir Tastings machen, wann wir unterwegs sind.
Super, vielen Dank euch allen. Tschüss.